Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Jim and Keith both tipped me off the story from TheVerge.com, written by Adi Robertson. And this is a serious issue for those of us who are actually concerned about our constitutional rights. Border agents can now search your phone under a new circuit court ruling as you come back into America. So if you are overseas or just in another country, there's a difference, and you come back into America as you cross the border agents can say, we want to dig through your phone. We want to dig through your phone. Don't need a warrant. Just feel like digging through your phone. And, I was joking earlier about being overseas. I've traveled to Europe a couple times. I've also been to various places in the Caribbean, but I've also gone to Canada. And in Detroit, right across the river, is Canada. So my entire life, I've always thought that, going to Canada and coming back was no big deal. And it became a bigger deal after 9/11. But generally speaking, we always thought, you can just run over to Canada for the afternoon and come back. And the border crossings have gotten more complicated. But now add this twist to it, that as you're coming back, coming into the U.S., they can say, let us dig through your phone for a little while. We just feel like it. Don't need a warrant. Don't need anything. Just do it. So a U.S. appeals court has ruled that Customs and Border Protection agents can conduct in-depth searches of phones, and laptops too. Overturning an earlier victory for civil liberties groups, the First Circuit judge declared that both basic and advanced searches, which include reviewing and copying data without a warrant, fall within permissible constitutional grounds at the American border. So, again, they can dig through your phone. They can dig through your laptop. They can also just decide to copy everything off your phone, copy everything off your laptop, just for the fun of it. The judge ruled against a group of U.S. citizens and residents objecting to invasive searches of their electronic devices. The group includes a NASA scientist who was detained and pressured to unlock a secure government-issued phone. Most of the incidents date to 2017, when the president pushed for tighter border security alongside travel bans and other restrictions. But some took place earlier, reflecting long-standing concerns among groups like the Electronic Frontier Foundation and the ACLU, which backed this lawsuit. Now, the district court wrote, searches of electronic devices do not involve an intrusive search of a person. The district court declared that CBP searches violated the Fourth Amendment by not requiring reasonable suspicion that the devices contained contraband, but the Court of Appeals disagreed. Electronic device searches do not fit neatly into other categories of property searches, but the bottom line is the basic border searches of electronic devices do not involve an intrusive search of a person, the judge wrote. That lowers the bar for conducting them at the border, where the government's interest in security is at its zenith. So, this is an interesting question, and I think this is wrong, this outcome here. But really, I get asked this question a lot, and I got asked it 2 days ago. Someone said to me, Steve, I'm coming to America. I'm going to visit America. I'm not a U.S. citizen. When I'm within the boundaries of the United States, what rights do I have? And it's a common question that people have because they think that constitutional rights only apply to certain groups of people. And the Constitution actually, more often than not, refers to people. So if you're a people and you're inside the United States, you've got constitutional rights. That's how it is. Now, I'm not saying that you can cross the border with impunity and once you're here do anything you want. I'm just simply saying that constitutional rights, more often than not, simply refer to people. Okay? So here's where I have a problem with this idea. I understand if I go to another country, the second I step off American soil, I no longer have my constitutional rights that I had within the borders of the United States. And I am aware of that. So when I'm crossing the border, I'm very careful. When I'm in another country, I'm very careful. I try to learn the local customs and the local rules and abide by them. And so once I'm on Canadian soil, I'm under their jurisdiction. And then I've always thought, once I'm back on U.S. soil, I'm home. I'm home. So I'll give you an example. In between Michigan and Canada, there's a bridge called the Blue Water Bridge. The Blue Water Bridge. It's between Port Huron and Sarnia. And so when you cross that bridge, about halfway over, you see a flag, depends which way you're going. But you'll see the flag, and it indicates that you've now crossed the border. And come back the other way, there's another flag that indicates you're coming back in. And so as you cross that border, you actually change from the jurisdiction of one country to the other. I've always felt that once you cross that border coming back into America, I'm home, I'm safe. And the weird part is that even though I, figuratively speaking, have set foot on American soil, I'm in my car, but I'm in America. the idea that all of your constitutional rights apply except for this one seems strange to me. It seems strange to me. So appeals courts have issued conflicting opinions on how electronic devices fall under the border search exception, a rule allowing warrantless searches that might otherwise be unconstitutional. Customs officials are able to conduct basic searches without reasonable suspicion, and they can conduct basic and advanced searches without obtaining a warrant. So without reasonable suspicion and without a warrant. The exception is primarily intended for finding contraband or unauthorized entrance, but it applies to federal agents working within 100 miles of the U.S. border. That's an area that covers most metropolitan areas. So it obviously covers the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit's right across the river from Windsor. Civil liberties advocates argue that modern phones and computers contain an unprecedented wealth of information, especially if agents can remotely retrieve emails or other material through the device. And Lynch suggested that Congress or the White House could establish clearer rules which may choose to grant greater protection than required by the Constitution. However, today's ruling reverses a decision that was previously considered a landmark victory. So this is one of the other strange things about the way our court systems work, is that a lower court will rule one way. A couple of years later, the Court of Appeals will rule this way. And then a couple of years later, the Supreme Court may hear it. And so in the meantime, you got these opinions that go back and forth. The ACLU, of course, is unsatisfied with the outcome. Warrantless and suspicionless electronic device searches can give border officers unfettered access to vast amounts of private information about our lives. That's Deputy Director of the ACLU's Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project. We're disappointed with the ruling and evaluating all options to ensure we don't lose our privacy rights when we travel. So, you get on a plane and you fly to London. I understand the moment you're out of U.S. airspace, you are no longer within the jurisdictional bounds of America. And when you land in England, you're under their jurisdictional bounds. But again, the idea that, the United States has a border. We've got border agents, and the border agents are protecting the border. And the border agents can, within 100 miles of that border, do searches of your electronic devices. Now, I know that the most common situation where this is going to happen is someone crossing the border coming into the country. But we've heard stories about them doing this, driving around inside and contacting people who may or may not have recently crossed the border. So that would be, in my mind, an even bigger problem. But I actually think I've said I don't want to be a judge, wouldn't want to be a judge. Wouldn't even want to be a judge for Halloween, okay? But if someone said, Steve, we're going to put you on the court right now. You get to hear this case, and you get to write an opinion on it. And your opinion is going to be the law unless it goes up higher and gets overturned. What would you write? And I would write a very simple rule. And I would say the U.S. Constitution applies to all people within the bounds of the United States. So imagine the dotted line that goes around the country, right on the edge, the dotted line. And I would say the moment you step over the dotted line, you're out of our country, you're somebody else's problem. The moment you step in our country, then you are under our jurisdiction, but you also have all of our constitutional rights. And so if we have reason to suspect that you might have something dangerous on your phone, your laptop, your iPad, or whatever other electronic device you have, then you got good suspicion, reasonable suspicion, hold the person, go get a warrant. But the idea that you just go on fishing expeditions because somebody crossing the border has a cell phone. And this is a great example, I think, of how fast things are changing, especially technologically. Where years ago, when cell phones first came out, I remember cell phones, that didn't have text features. It made phone calls. And so back then, the idea of them searching your phone was no big deal. They could see who you called. Now, I still think that would be wrong without a warrant and without suspicion. But now, think of all the things that are on your phone. And so, there might be bank accounts on your phone. There's all kinds of social media on your phone, emails on your phone, text messages on your phone. And every text message, every single email reveals two things about you. It reveals that you got something, and it reveals who you got it from. So someone sends you a text or an email while you're traveling. You cross the border with the U.S., they seize your phone. They now know all about not just you, but the person who sent it to you. It's much more intrusive than it used to be. So this is a problem. So I hope this gets taken up further, meaning the Supreme Court will hear it. I hope they will. No word on that yet. The ruling just came down. But this seems like something that would be ripe for a review by the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's from theverge.com. Adi Robertson wrote it. Jim and Keith both sent it to me. Border agents can now search phones freely under a new circuit court ruling. That is without a warrant. And to me, that's wrong. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I am not a cat man, but a dog man, and all felines can tell this at a glance, a sharp, vindictive glance.